Welcome to Rob and Tony's Cinematic Adventure. I'm Rob Wilson.
And I'm Tony DeQuano.
So, Tony, with it being the 25th anniversary of The Mummy this year, I think that's the episode that we're going to be doing today, right?
Yeah, 25 years. That's
yes.
Crazy.
Yeah, I remember when it came out in theaters 25 years ago.
We're old.
Yeah.
Because I remember the trailer or TV spot during the Super Bowl. I was like, oh, that looks kind of goofy and cool. And yeah. And here we are 25 years later.
Yep. Yep.
Because the 2000s are now almost a quarter of the way through.
Yeah. Oh, we're old.
It's 25 years from when that came out would have been stuff like The Godfather Part 2.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh.
That's wow.
Yeah.
Okay then. But no, it's appropriate. And I think it shows now, 25 years, that's long enough for a movie to kind of get past its initial stage of whether it's a box office hit, box office flop.
Yeah.
Just another movie that was out there that did just kind of middle of the road, right?
Basically, that it is, that there was a movie that struck a chord with people or that, people enjoyed, but probably be a better way to word that, when they actually take the time and effort to give it a 25th anniversary re-release in theaters.
Yeah, it's a movie that has kind of gained its own fandom. I don't know if cult is the right word for it because it was a box office hit, but it's got a certain dedicated fan base, right? And just actual meme pages about it.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a certain cultural resonance it has. It spawned 2 sequels and some spin-offs, and it actually launched the careers of several people.
Yes, it did.
Strangely enough, its star Brendan Fraser actually kind of struggled after a little bit.
He did, but he's been making he's been making a comeback lately. But yeah, for a while he was kind of struggling there.
And it was funny because it's not like he was a bankable A-lister for a movie like this. But they cast him, and he's obviously the most well-known part of it. And it was a hit. But then, for whatever reason, his career was never quite the same as it was during the 90s, when he was also Encino Man.
Yes, he was Encino Man. When was Blast from the Past? Was that 90s or was that early 2000s?
That's a good question. That was around that same time. I'm glad you thought about that one. Well, 1999, so it would have been the same year.
The same year. Okay.
Forgot about Blast from the Past, yeah. Alicia Silverstone, another 90s person that never
really did anything past the 90s.
After 2000, just never made it, right?
Brendan Fraser did have a very memorable role in Scrubs.
Oh, yes. That is true.
And
it was he was in Crash, which won the Best Picture in 2005, right? But yeah, I remember his next one after that was Bedazzled.
Yeah. Yeah, he had a series of flops and and some actual successful movies and TV appearances and
TV
stuff like
spots,
that. But yeah, he after The Mummy, you would think with as big as The Mummy was that his career would kind of skyrocket, but it didn't. And then recently with The Whale, he's sort of been making a comeback, even though he really hasn't been in as much as you might think after the success of that.
Yeah, he had again. I think I don't know if they were filmed concurrently. I need to look deeper into it, but Killers of the Flower Moon was released after it, but it might have actually been started filming beforehand. Okay. I know the release got pushed back a little bit of it. So
yeah, because he's an excellent actor. He deserves he deserves the acclaim he's gotten. It's just, it would be nice if people would recognize him a little bit more.
It was only 3 episodes of Scrubs. Wow.
Yeah.
So it's such a impactful.
Yeah. Such a memorable character.
Yeah. So, but it's a movie. So but The Mummy itself, though, Rachel Weisz became a prominent.
Yep.
Actress. She's not like she's an A-lister, but she got a lot of really good roles after that.
Yes, she did.
And won an Oscar herself.
Yep.
Right. Arnold Vosloo helped propel him to getting good roles and
and to being one of the bad guys in 24.
Yes. So it's funny, like, it's almost perfect though, because like it's 99 and it definitely feels like a movie from that time frame.
Yes, it does.
Right at the turn of the millennium.
Yeah. Yeah.
You kind of had to be there.
Yes. And speaking of the turn of the millennium, so the first time that I saw this, I did not see it in theaters.
Okay.
First time I saw it was after it was released on video. So it came out in that time where DVDs were still new. So just about every movie was still being released on VHS.
My first copy of it was on VHS.
Yeah, so it was out. I remember it was out on VHS and on DVD. And I'm trying to remember which one I saw it on. I'm thinking it was more VHS because first time I saw it, my sister Jenny had a bunch of friends over and we were watching it in the basement. And I'm thinking it's VHS because the basement, I don't think we had a DVD player down there at that time. The only DVD player we had in the house at that time was in the living room upstairs. So that makes me think that it was the VHS copy that we were watching. But yeah, so it was just a bunch of us sitting down in the basement on the couch watching The Mummy.
Okay.
Because I think Jenny had seen it in the theater, unless I'm mistaken. I think she saw it in the theater and said, "Hey guys, let's watch this movie. Let's watch it. It's good." So we watched it.
I watched it at the theater as well, and I got the VHS probably for my birthday, I guess for Christmas. And I remember we watched it a lot, probably that next fall, like, a little over a year after it came out, on band trips. We'd sometimes take coach buses to different competitions, and they had, TVs, but, at that time they would have mostly had, like, the VHS, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'd bring a copy of it and we'd watch The Mummy on a bus a lot. So, and then I got the DVD at some point, that DVD copy, and it was easier for me, I think, at college just to have the DVDs and have the VHS and just watched it a bunch. And it's funny, I watched it the other night, and I think it's been almost 15 years since I've seen it. Like that first decade of its life, I watched it a bunch.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen it in a long time, and I remembered why I just love this movie.
Yeah. See, before the other day, before watching it for the podcast, the last time I'd seen it was maybe a year or so ago, just because it had been over a decade since I'd seen it. I'm like, I haven't seen this movie in a while. I'm going to put it in. And I loved it then, and I loved it last week when I saw it last weekend. So the thing that made us decide to do the podcast was I went and saw... Last weekend, I went and saw the 25th anniversary re-release of it in the theater. And so I finally got to see it in the theater because I didn't get to see it this first time in the theater. So it was nice.
Yeah.
It was great, being able to get out there with other people and, watch it on the big screen.
Yeah, and it's funny. I think when I would have watched, I think this theatrical experience would have been, had I seen it, been different. Because I think, when it was new, people would know totally what to expect. And I think watching something as an event movie is very different.
Yes, yes, it is.
Obviously, I think most people that probably went to see it with you, like, they knew it was kind of coming, and and then, but you build off of that, and it's very quotable, and you just love the characters. You hate the other characters, and it's one of those ones that it's a good summer movie where you're just gonna cheer about certain things, and boo certain things.
And the theater where I saw it, they were doing along with it. But this is the only I've seen. So in the last week, I've seen 3 anniversary re-releases of movies. Right? Because I did The Mummy. I did a double feature of The Mummy and the 25th anniversary Mummy, and then the 40th anniversary of Alien. So I could watch those back to back. And then on this past Friday, on May 3rd, I did the 25th anniversary re-release of Phantom Menace.
Oh, right.
Which,
that's
again, 25 years ago. So the only one of those 3 movies that was doing this was The Mummy. They had 11 by 17 posters.
Okay.
For the 25th anniversary posters for the movie. And so I got one of those when, they gave me one of those when I got to the theater.
Nice.
And so it's a nice little memento from seeing it. So, but yeah, I'm kind of surprised that especially Star Wars didn't do it, because usually they'll do something like that for a Star Wars movie.
For Star Wars, yeah, you'd think Disney would be all over that.
I mean, it doesn't surprise me all that much that Alien didn't do it, but I would think that Star Wars would have. But maybe they did at other theaters, just not the one in Lawrence.
Okay, but yeah, I kind of wish I would have been able to see the re-release myself. I mean, it was nice being able to watch, back in high definition, and I don't know. It's like the movie's goofy.
Yep.
There's plot holes that you don't care about.
Yep, because it's just so much fun.
It's
like,
so much
when
fun.
a movie is fun, you don't really care about plot holes. Unless they're like glaring plot holes that just...
You realize, you look at it and you realize it's not, like, it got a lot of comparisons like Indiana Jones. And like, they're trying to do that, but not trying that seriously to be Indiana Jones. It's a lot. It's very tongue-in-cheek, and it's pulled off really well. And it's interesting because the director, Stephen, Sommers, like, a lot of the other stuff he's done just wasn't the same as this.
Yeah.
Like, obviously the second Mummy, which was okay.
It was all right. I mean, it wasn't as good as the first one. I enjoyed it. They could have done way better with the CGI.
Yes.
Especially since plenty of movies had come out before that were much better CGI-wise. I mean, the Scorpion King just looked ridiculous.
Yeah. Then Van Helsing, which I didn't really care for.
Yeah, that's when I saw that one in the theater, and I really haven't seen it. I've seen parts of it on TV since, but I haven't really sat down and watched it all the way through since the theater.
Then he had G.I. Joe, which,
Yeah.
With Odd Thomas,
Odd Thomas was good. Odd Thomas was a good one. That one.
And then before this, he had Deep Rising, which is a fun B monster movie.
Okay, see, I haven't seen that one.
But Treat Williams.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a fun one. Very much, kind of similar to The Mummy, but as a B monster movie, and it's gorier. It's rated R over like a PG-13. So
yeah. So I mean, the Mummy. If you're doing a Universal monster movie, then the tone of The Mummy is perfect for that monster.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily want all of the Universal monsters to have that same comedic tone like Mummy is, where they just kind of have fun with it.
Yes.
I mean, some of them are more serious characters, more serious monsters. I don't know that you'd have a Frankenstein movie with this feel to it, or if they try to do that, kind of like some other movie series that will go unnamed for now, that have tried to all do the exact same thing for every one of their characters. That just doesn't work. But
so this is interesting as you bring this up, right? So I guess apparently when they first started doing testing of it, people reacted poorly, mostly to the title, because of obviously the classic Universal monster movies, right?
Yeah.
And again, I think I'm not sure what the original source material for the classic Mummy is, but you think of Frankenstein and Dracula, they're drawing up serious source material. I think there's a little bit more freedom with this, but they decided that we kind of wanted to redefine it, right? Because of those three, Dracula, Frankenstein, the Mummy is probably the one people are least familiar with, right?
yes.
But it was really the Super Bowl spot, a TV ad for it, that boosted up the enthusiasm for the movie. And they actually, because they got the enthusiasm, they moved up the release date of The Phantom Menace. Because it was supposed to be released May 21st, a lot closer to Phantom Menace.
Yep.
And so they moved it to the first Friday of May 7th. And so that was number one. And and at the time, it was the highest grossing non-holiday May release, right? Because, we got Memorial Day in there. That's obviously a big time to try to release a movie.
Yeah.
To capitalize on the holiday. And for a lot of places, school's out also at that point, right? May 7th. Early May, a lot of kids are still in school. So, but yeah, take the tone and they run with it. And it's one of those ones where they had fun filming this movie. Oh,
you could tell. You could tell they had so much fun with it. Just the whole process. You can tell that everybody had fun.
Yeah. No, the actors, I'm sure the set designers and, the sound people and all the behind the scenes people, the visual effects, the computer people, right? You mentioned the CGI, there's a lot of it is the early stages, early kind of computer generated effects.
Yes. But in this movie, in the first Mummy movie, the CGI is really not bad. It's good for the time. Yeah. It's really just in Mummy Returns where it really, the CGI really goes downhill in certain aspects of it. But yeah, for the Mummy, for the first one, the CGI is top notch for the time.
But I like how they, the beginning of the movie, right, where they do a little prologue and it's ancient Egypt, right? They're building all the pyramids and everything, and it all looks good, right? And then even the sets they get into, as they go into Pharaoh's palace.
Yeah. And by the way, before we get too deep into it, spoiler alert, if anyone has not seen this movie and they don't want to be spoiled, then please pause the podcast now, watch the movie, then come back and listen. If you don't mind spoilers, or if you've seen the movie, go ahead and keep on listening. But you have been warned. We are going to be talking about this entire movie, beginning, middle, and end. So there you go. All right, continue, Tony.
I like that, the voiceover, the narration at this point is like Oded Fair.
Yes,
right?
Yes, I like that too.
Because, after this, you don't get the voiceover, right? You don't get any of the exposition and the background. But, because, he is one of the ones that's, as we find out later, is protecting the site and to make sure that he does not rise from the dead.
He's one of the Magi.
Yeah. So completely makes sense that he's telling the background on it. And you got the Pharaoh, he's got the beautiful wife who is
naked
except for body paint.
Yep, who's wearing just body paint, and she is having a secret affair with
the high priest,
Pharaoh Seti the First high priest, Imhotep. And she's her body paint is such that if anybody touches her, it will smear the paint, and then the Pharaoh will know that somebody touched her, and no one is allowed to touch the Pharaoh's woman.
Who paints her?
That is an excellent question. Maybe
I guess one of the female slaves.
Yeah,
paints her.
Maybe they've got a body artist.
Or maybe it's it's a job that you get, and then it's a one-time only job because you die. You touched her.
But I mean, if they're using a brush, then they could do that without touching her. Yeah,
no, that's legally. That's you're correct.
Yes, that could be the loophole. But yeah, so brief scene, you get Anaxunamun and Imhotep together. Imhotep touches her arm as they're kissing, and then the Pharaoh comes in, and Imhotep runs off. Pharaoh sees smeared paint on her arm and knows that somebody touched her, and he's wanting to know who.
Well, he also seems he sees Imhotep's guys they're also his other priests.
Yeah, he sees them too.
He's why they're there.
Yeah. That's why they're there, and then he kind of puts two and two together and realizes it's Imhotep that's been having a secret affair with Anaxunamun. And so Anaxunamun and Imhotep murder Seti the First. And then as his guards are coming in, as Seti's Magi are coming in.
Oh, how badass they look. They look like they are transported back for the 90s.
Yes.
Ancient Egypt.
Yes.
Like about to play the linebackers on
a
SEC football team or something.
Yeah. So they come in. Anaxunamun tells Imhotep to run because she's about to kill herself because she knows that their whole plan was that he's going to resurrect her.
Mm-hmm.
Because he can do that because he's the high priest.
The priest. He knows all the secrets of the...
Yeah, he knows all of the spells and
whatever you want to call them.
Secrets of the Book of the Dead. And so she kills herself. She stabs herself in the stomach, and he tries to escape, but gets caught. So all of his priests are mummified alive.
That sounds
as
like
punishment. And he is more than just mummified. He gets the worst punishment ever devised by the ancient Egyptians. Something that they had never bestowed on anybody.
Because they feared it so much.
But
not so much that they did on this guy.
Yeah.
The high priest.
Yeah. Which, why would they do something? So, to kill someone as punishment, why would they do it in such a way that they could then later be resurrected if somebody found the book?
And then and not only just resurrected, if he is resurrected, he becomes invincible.
Yes. Yes. Why would they do that?
If they're gonna have him get resurrected by accident, wouldn't it just be better that he gets resurrected as a cow turd?
Yeah, I mean, it would make sense. But no, they put him through the punishment that means that there's no cap on the time that it would take to do it, because at whatever time, if somebody finds the Book of the Dead and they read the right passage in it, then it resurrects him. And then as long as he goes and collects the body parts that they took from him, because they cut out his tongue, they cut out his eyes.
They gouged out his eyes, yeah.
As long as he collects the body parts that were taken from him from whoever it was that opened the box that had his body parts in it.
I feel really bad for that guy, by the way. We'll get to him.
Yes, we'll get to him. But yeah, once he collects all the body parts, then he's invincible. Why would they do that? Why would they create a punishment like that that ends up to not really be a punishment for the guy?
He's given the power to bring about the 10 plagues of Egypt.
Yes.
Like, he's given additional powers.
I don't think he's the one that's bringing those on. I think that's just a result of him.
As a result, yes,
getting his immortality.
Which we see most of the plagues. We don't see.
No, we don't see all 10.
We don't see the firstborn.
We see like 5 of them, 5 or 6 of them.
Yeah,
but we don't see all 10. But yeah, so anyway, he's given this this curse that really isn't much of a curse for him, except just the beginning part of it, the whole being mummified alive part. But once you get past that, when he's resurrected, he's invincible. So he's just got to wait.
I mean, there's a horrible way to die because they throw in all those scarabs in them that slowly eat them.
Yeah. Oh, they don't slowly eat them. It's pretty quick.
That's true.
Those scarabs work pretty quick. But I mean, it took long enough for him to be able to, use his fingernails to scratch a message deep inside that sarcophagus.
Which is weird, considering that they wrapped him up.
Yeah, but I mean, the scarabs might have eaten through the cloth, which then freed up his hands to be able to do it.
About it. He was able to, use his bony nubs to gouge it in there somehow.
Yep, but
anyway,
then it. So then after showing that, then it cuts ahead to
the present. Well, not present.
Well, not present day. The almost present day of the movie. No, it was like the 19-teens or something like that, and it was like during World War I-ish.
Yeah.
Time frame there. But we get Brendan Fraser, Rick O'Connell, and his squad with the British military.
Yeah, that's the way I took it. I don't exactly know who they're fighting here.
Yeah, they're in a battle. Yeah, they're in.
They're really like they're doing battle with somebody there, but then you got like the Magi, because we're told that the Magi are the ones that have been tasked to protect and guard, to make sure that curse does not get brought about.
Yeah, to make sure that Imhotep does not get resurrected. Yeah,
and it looks like at least the leader of the ones that are in the desert there is, the narrator, Oded Fair. There's other guys that we see that are kind of placed around. It's kind of like, the group in Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade.
Yeah. Yeah, the Brotherhood of the Cruciform Sword. Yeah. Yeah, so the Magi, that's actually a very good comparison there. Because, the Magi in the Mummy are very similar to the Brotherhood of the Cruciform Sword in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. They're tasked with protecting this spot, or protecting this item. In this case, it would be protecting the mummy of Imhotep to make sure that the curse was not released on the world.
And they're willing to, kill innocent people.
Yeah.
To do that. And I think that the Magi have probably a better grounds of doing it.
Yep.
As they discuss later.
Yep.
Than Brotherhood of the Cruciform.
Yes.
Because who's going to kill you here in Venice?
Yeah.
Nowhere near the Grail.
Yeah. So,
but you can't anyway.
But the
Grail has its own booby traps that defend it anyway.
Yes, just like you find in a pyramid in the tomb of a pharaoh or some other important person from ancient Egypt. It's booby traps. But anyway, so right next to Brendan Fraser is his little buddy Benny, played by Kevin J. O'Connor. And do you know? So just a few minutes before we started recording this, I was looking up some stuff on Benny, on Kevin J. O'Connor.
He has a lot of Stephen Sommers. See
some of the other stuff. Yeah, to just see some of the other stuff that he was in. And did you know that after this movie, 8 years later, in 2007, he was in a movie with Eric Avari, who plays Dr. Bay, who we will get to in a few minutes, the guy that runs the museum that Evelyn is working in. The two of them were in a movie together in 2007, a movie that we've both seen, but we probably have not thought about it since we saw it. Flight of the Living Dead. One of our Growler Night movies from back in the day.
In the same year he does that, he's in There Will Be Blood.
Yes.
Opposite ends of the spectrum.
Movies. Yes.
And I remember him in There Will Be Blood because it's probably one of the most serious movies he's been in. He does a lot of movies like this, right? I guess he was also in Gods and Monsters, which was Ian McKellen back in before this. But he's done a lot of Stephen Sommers movies, and then There Will Be Blood, which is I remember him as they lose his brother in it.
Yep.
And I think The Master also. So I guess Paul Thomas Anderson started liking him in his movies. Yeah. But apparently, looking at this now, to go with Flight of the Living Dead, this would be a good double feature. Another kind of terrible direct-to-video horror movie. He was also in Exorcism at 60,000 Feet.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So,
Oh, but I don't know. Maybe we'll need to do Flight of the Living Dead on here sometime, because that was an enjoyable movie. It was a terrible, terrible zombies on a plane. The original title for that movie was Plain Dead.
No, Flight of the Living Dead.
Yeah, Flight of the Living Dead is a better title. Flight of the Living Dead. The full title is Flight of the Living Dead: Outbreak on a Plane. But yeah, the original title was Plain Dead. But anyway.
So the general, the commander, he's on horseback and he flees. Benny's like, her strength gives me strength. O'Connell.
Yep.
O'Connor. I say O'Connell.
O'Connell. It's O'Connell with L.
Yeah. Anyway,
with 2 L's.
And then, they're all there. They're all the infantry. They got their arm. The guns ready. And then this cavalry's charging straight at them. And then
Benny runs off.
Flees.
Because Benny's a little coward.
And they start shooting. And then, eventually it becomes hand-to-hand combat after that. And then, Rick tries to get into where Benny's hiding, right? And Benny closes the door on him.
Yep.
They're about to shoot at him, right? And then, the face appears
Oh,
in
yes.
the sand.
That's right. The face. So, because this whole time there's a sandstorm going on just on the site where they are. And so, this basically sand cyclone comes up. And
how that works. I get later how it works. I don't get why it works right then.
Yeah. But this time, I guess it's not really the cyclone that has the face in it. It's the sand on the ground that forms a face.
Yeah. It pops up, right? And it scares all the people that are about to shoot, kill them, shoot them. And then it just appears at the sand, right? And I guess that's supposed to be Imhotep. I don't know. I never get.
Yeah, because at this point, nothing, the book hasn't even been found yet.
No. Right.
So
he's still locked away at the feet of Anubis.
Yeah.
And nothing's been found, right? So. Was it some other person that's been mummified? It's just it's
maybe
not enjoying that their rest is being disturbed.
Maybe a spider was walking by the book and was able to read hieroglyphics or something. And
so he ends up walking off in the desert after this. He's just by himself, and then the Magi, they're looking out there. And then
that's right, the Magi. Yeah, they're looking out there. They're wondering if they should kill him. And Oded Fair, Ardeth Bay, tells them no. The desert will take him. Yeah, the Sahara will take him.
But somehow it doesn't, because we fast forward 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, it's
and now
a few years later
in a library, the museum.
Yeah,
and we're introduced to Rachel Weisz, which is this is. She'd done a few things. This is what really kind of put her on the map, so to speak, right? And she's a librarian, but she's more than a librarian. She wants to be a Egyptologist, right? She reads up on all of this.
Yeah, she can speak and write
everything
ancient Egyptian, and she can
multiple languages. And her father was an explorer, right? Which we'll find out later, and was wealthy because he and his wife, her mom, were patrons, right? Gave a lot of money to
the museum.
The museum, and I guess the Museum of Antiquities in Cairo.
Yeah,
right?
Which when we meet Dr. Bay, her boss, he mentions that. He mentions that the only reason why he keeps her on is because her parents were big donors.
And, she made a massive mess, right?
Yes.
She's trying to organize the library there, right? And she's on a ladder, and then it pops straight up, and then
because she's trying to reach. So she's got a stack of books in her hand, in her arm, and she's putting them up in alphabetical order, and she sees one that's not where that's in her hand, that's a different letter. Because she's in the T's, and then she's got one that's an S, and the S's are behind her. So she goes to try to reach across to put the book where it should be, and it's just a little too far for her to reach while she's at the top of the ladder, and ends up pulling the ladder with her and is standing straight up in the middle of the two shelves on this ladder, trying to keep her balance. And while she's trying to keep her balance and call for help, then the ladder falls over, hits the shelf that she was just on, and like dominoes, all of the bookshelves all around the perimeter of the room just tumble, create a huge mess.
Sons of the Pharaohs!
Yes. And Dr. Bay, Eric Avari, great actor, by the way. I always love seeing him and stuff.
Such a terrific actor.
He's fantastic. But he's always so fun in everything he's in.
Yeah.
He's just. But he comes in, he starts.
But Ramses destroyed Syria. That was an accident.
Yeah.
You are a catastrophe.
So
what I love about her though, like again, this is like where the chemistry works really well, right?
Yeah.
But he seems like he's a nice enough guy, and you get why he's irritated and upset about this.
Yes.
And and she reminds me of a lot of other very, very smart, intelligent people.
Yes.
That are also kind of aloof and accident prone.
Yes. But, I mean, this is really the only part of the movie where she's really accident prone.
Yes, it's true.
The rest of the movie, she's actually fairly coordinated.
And what's interesting about this movie, too, is it kind of gets lost sometimes within the idea of, she ends up being kind of this co-lead with Brendan Fraser, right? But she's a strong, independent woman.
Yeah.
In this, right? In terms of an action-oriented movie that has a strong female character, right? So it's plays well under that, and it's got they play off a little bit of that because it's the 1920s, and she wants to keep apply for the scholarship with these scholars, but they don't believe they're bullying against her for being a woman, right?
Yeah.
It's the 1920s, right? And not everyone's totally up with that yet.
Yeah.
So,
but.
She's supposed to clean up the mess and but she hears some noises over in the museum and she figures she can get to it later, and her brother is hiding in
Yes, he's hiding in a sarcophagus with a mummy. She walks into the other room and this mummy pops up. She freaks out. And then her brother Jonathan starts laughing and sits up.
Played by John Hannah.
Puts his arm around the mummy.
He's so good in this. My goodness.
He is.
Again, and it's funny, he had, maybe not for American audiences, but he done a lot of British stuff. So if you were British, you would have seen him in a lot of things at that time. For Weddings and Funeral. I guess, American ones would have seen that too. But yeah, he was definitely more in British productions, right?
Yeah.
He's so funny in this.
Oh, he's great. This movie was very well cast.
But he found, quote unquote, a puzzle box.
Yes. He found a little box. But yeah, found is used very loosely.
And he brings it to his sister because he knows that she is expert in a lot of these Egyptian artifacts. And she's like, oh, I think he actually found something. So they open it and there's a map in it. They bring it to Dr. Bay. And he's being very skeptical about all of it. And about how Hamunaptra is just a myth and a legend, right?
Yes. Hamunaptra is the city of the dead.
Yes.
The city where Imhotep was laid to rest.
But it piques Jonathan's interest also, not so much some of the other artifacts in there, like the Book of the Dead and the Book of the Living and all that. No, he realizes that it's also where the wealth of Egypt is
the
stored.
Wealth of Egypt.
And that's what piques him. He wants that wealth and that gold, right?
Yes, who Evelyn tells. So he asks Evelyn if Seti was rich, and Evelyn tells him that Seti the First was the richest pharaoh in all of ancient Egypt.
Yeah.
So yes, that's what piques Jonathan's interest because he wants money.
So, the doctor, he's trying to read the map closer, and then he gets it too close to the candles on his desk, and it catches on fire.
But it's clearly,
oh, goodness!
You could clearly tell that he did that on purpose because he waited for him to look away before he moved it over toward the candle.
Yes.
And burned that corner of the map
he
off.
drops it, and they There they go.
Yeah, they pad it out, and
but part of it's burned off, and they're like
the corner of the map with the location of Hymenoptera is burned off.
Most, he just says it's kind of a classic movie line. Many people have spent their entire lives looking for this, right? Most have never returned.
Yeah.
And so then they realize they need to go. Jonathan has to fess up that he basically stole off a dude, and to find him, and he's now imprisoned.
Yes, he's now imprisoned. So they go and they meet Warden Hassan,
who we have talked about before.
Who, played by Omid Jalili, who, was in Gladiator. Yes. He was the slave trader in Gladiator. And, another amazing character actor.
Oh, yes.
He does great.
And, I love the kind of Jonathan is concerned about it because he stole off of them, and he's going to think that he'll be recognized. And, the warden says, they're asking, why is he in jail? And he's like, oh. So they asked him that. He said he's just looking for a good time.
Yep. And so they take him to the cell, and out walks Brendan Fraser.
Yep.
With long hair.
Got long hair. He's
scruffy
looking, right? And Jonathan speaks no, we're local missionaries. Very good word. And then he goes off. He starts, and
yeah. So then, this is when Brendan Fraser has Jonathan come closer, and he punches him.
I know you.
He's like, I know you from somewhere, and he just punches Jonathan in the face.
He goes off with the warden, and then. He's like, we came to talk about your puzzle box.
Yes. Evelyn starts talking to him. Yeah, came to talk about the puzzle box.
He knows about the puzzle box?
Who's that?
Jude Law.
Jude Law does know about Rachel Weisz's puzzle box. Yes, he does. Or at least his character in Enemy at the Gates does. The silly Zaitsev. But
that's anyway. If we do a top 5, short segment ever, that could be on there.
It could be
for a particular category.
It could be. But anyway, so
he's like, no, you don't want to know about the puzzle box. You want to know about Hymenoptera.
Yes. And so she's like, yeah, what do you know about Hymenoptera? He's like, I've been there. I know how to get there because I've been there. And so she wants to know more. So he tells her to come closer. And she thinks that he's going to whisper in her ear information on how to get there. But he kisses her.
And then the guards attack him. And then the warden comes back. He's like, where are they taking him? To be hanged.
No, but as they're pulling him away, he says, if you want to get to Hymenoptera, get me out of here.
Get me out of here. And then that's when I say, oh, they're taking him to be hanged. Apparently he had a very good time. What did he do? I guess in the 1920s, and you can be hung for more than just killing a person.
Yeah,
but
But yeah, what did he do?
So he's she goes up with the warden to his little viewing area where they hang people, and thankfully his neck does not break.
Yeah, because they drop him, and then. Yeah,
even before they drop him, she's trying to plead with him, and she's like, "What else? I'm a very lonely man." She's, he squeezes her knee.
Yeah, the warden, squeezes her knee, and like $500, and what else? I'm a very lonely man. And then she reveals those. Then they drop him. They open the trap door, and his neck doesn't break, and so he's supposed to just hang there until he strangles to death. And so Evelyn lets out that he knows the way to Hymenoptera.
Yes.
So the warden tells him to cut him down. And
I like how she haggles him down.
Yeah.
They're getting to the middle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway. And he actually goes lower than one she says.
Yeah.
like 20%. It's like 20%. And he's like 40%. She's like 30. 25.
Yeah. He's like, done. And then he realized what he said.
Right. Cuts it down, and he gets there, and he's obviously he's like, ugh. And he looks up and there's Evie, and and then the next scene,
Yeah, Evie and Jonathan are getting their stuff
getting
together.
on a boat on the Nile, and they're wondering if he's going to show up, right? And then, of course, he shows up.
He shows up. He's all clean
shaven,
and
haircut. He's
looking like Brendan Fraser again.
Brendan Fraser, not the Brendan Fraser of Encino Man.
No, the Brendan Fraser of Brendan Fraser. But yeah, so
the warden shows up too because he needs to protect his investment.
He needs to protect his investment, so he insists on going with them. So they all get on the boat.
And he meets some Americans because Jonathan's playing some like cards with some Americans, and Rick realizes Jonathan's built a secret. They're also all looking for Hamunaptra.
Yes.
And one of the ones that's there is one of my other favorite character actors, Jonathan Hyde.
Yeah.
He's kind of like I guess he's an archaeologist, and that's leading this expedition with the Americans.
Yeah, who Jonathan Hyde was in. He's been in a bunch of stuff, but he was both Alan Parrish's dad and Van Pelt in Jumanji.
Yes. He's also in Anaconda.
He is. He was in a bunch of stuff in the 90s.
Yeah, no, I love a lot of the stuff he does. I mean, one of the biggest movie of the 90s, Titanic, right?
Yep, he was in that too.
Yeah, so another really good character actor. I think technically, I know he's like English, but I think he actually is like Australian English. I don't know.
Okay.
So it's a good mix of American and like British actors in this movie.
Yeah, there is.
And like Rick's character is an American.
Yes, his character is an American.
Bring this up.
Yes.
There's,
he was fighting with the British military before, but he is an American.
About the other three that are on this boat that are working with Jonathan Hyde, the three other guys are Americans, right? So, and they're very American.
Yes.
In various different ways. You got the one guy that's like a super cowboy type.
Yes. You got the one that's sort of the scholarly American.
Yes.
The guy with the glasses, the nerdy one.
The nerd one, yeah.
And then you got the one that's kind of in the middle. Kind of the Playboy type. Playboy type American.
He'll eventually try to kind of do the cowboy type thing, but
yeah.
But what's funny about them is like, we'll get to their fate later, but at one point I thought he kind of felt bad for them, and then this time watch was like, I don't know.
Yeah,
they all kind of deserve it.
Kind of, yeah. No, I mean the one doesn't deserve everything that happened to him, but
no, the nerdy guy is the one that you really feel for.
Yeah. But yeah, so they're talking with Rick, and they want to gamble with him, but he's like, I don't gamble, and I only
gamble with my life.
I only gamble with my life, and so they convince him to put $500 down on
getting the Hamunaptra.
Getting the Hamunaptra first. So whoever gets the Hamunaptra first, the other one gives him $500, and so he's like, okay, fine, deal. And
then like the Jonathan Hyde character is like, what makes you so confident? And after he says, like, and it's like, well, we got ourselves, the band has already been there. And then Jonathan's like, well, what a coincidence. Then
so do we.
Rick hits him in the head with his bag, and he's trying to keep it on the DL, right?
Yeah.
They go about playing their games, and then Rick, he goes on to another part of the ship.
He's off cleaning his guns.
And like,
he's out sitting on the deck cleaning his guns. And she comes out there. They get talking a little bit.
And she's trying to like say what's like kind of why she wants to kind of go there, and she's talking about the Book of the Dead and all this. And finally he's cleaning up, and she's like, why didn't you kiss me? He's like, seemed like a good idea at the time.
Yeah.
And then she gets mad and walks off. Meanwhile, while this is going on, like, we cut down to like the water, and there's these guys in the boats.
Yeah, these guys all in black, like Egyptian ninjas.
Yeah.
Sneaking on board the boat.
Which, you kind of think, okay, they're probably like the Magi. Like, they know.
Yeah.
So you kind of get that, right? And then after
storms off, then, so Rick hears something. Here's something behind some barrels.
Benny hide.
And he goes back there to check it out, and it's Benny hiding there. And so he picks Benny up. He's like, hey, Benny, oh, buddy.
I think I'll kill you.
It turns out Benny is the one that the Americans have that has been to Hamunaptra. And so
I like what he says, so your plan is to bring him out to the middle of the desert and then leave him to rot? And he's like, these Americans are smart. Get paid after you get them there.
So Yeah, these Americans are smart. They paid me half up front and half when I get them back. So he's
like,
stuck
why
going the
are you
whole way with
going?
him.
Like, you never believed in Hamanatra. And he's like, you see that girl? She saved my neck.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. He's like, you always did have more balls and brain. And I look at his face, he's like, and then he throws him off.
He just tosses him overboard. And it just goes about his business.
Which, like, I think that might be a potentially dangerous place to throw someone.
Yeah.
Like, the Nile is a very different river than the Mississippi.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. There are crocodiles in there. There are hippos in there. There are all sorts of
poisonous snakes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, but then, like, he goes back. He's going to collect up his guns, and then he sees what footprints?
Yes.
On the deck, right?
And he's like, "That I just threw Benny over. There's no way he could have gotten back up here that quick." So somebody came up from the water.
And then, so it cuts to Evie's room, her bunk. She's in her nightgown, and she's reading over. She's kind of studying, because, like, she still wants to be one of these scholars, right? She drops her book, and then when she stands back up, you know, is the leader of the ninja.
Yes.
With a knife to her throat, and he's like, "Where's the key?" And she has no idea what he's talking about.
What key?
And then,
there's no key.
I am the key master. Are you the gatekeeper? Rick Moranis shows up.
I wish. Rick Moranis would have been perfect for this movie. But we will be doing Ghostbusters sometime, though. We will be doing Ghostbusters.
But we will have a tribute to Dickless.
It's true. It's true. This man has no dick.
This man has no dick.
Oh.
This is like Bill Murray's greatest line delivery.
Yeah.
And one, Reginald Bill Johnson was there for it.
Yes, he was.
Actually, he may not have been there for that scene.
No, he wasn't there for that one. He was only in the jail scene.
Yeah. I know. He missed it.
But yeah.
Yeah. Poor dude. Anyway.
But yeah, we'll get to that movie.
Rick comes in. You know.
Not Rick Moranis, but Rick O'Connell.
And Encino Man comes in and like Brendan Fraser's in multiple Pauly Shore movies. And his career survived that somehow.
Yes. So did Sean Astin's career. He was an Encino Man also. Oh. So starts this gunfight, you know, on the boat, and then fire. You know, it's the 1920s. Like there's more candles on the boat. Yes, there's way too many candles on this
places,
boat.
Not just boats, but anywhere. So fire breaks out on the boat. You got people shooting everywhere, and then you have people abandoning ship, and then I love when the warden comes up to Rick. He's like, "Oh God, what do we do?" He's like, "Wait here, I'll go get help."
Yes, wait here, I'll go get help. And so the warden's just sitting there, he's just waiting. He's sitting there waiting, and like, everybody else is jumping overboard. Rick and Evie and Jonathan all jump overboard.
Figure out what to do. Jump ship.
So he's sitting there waiting. Then it just hits him. He's like, "Wait, that's a joke." And he turns around and jumps overboard. But everybody gets to the shore, and Benny.
Even before that, and like, you cut to Jonathan's character, and he sees the Americans. They've turned over all the tables, and they're just shooting at everything.
Yes.
He's like, Americans. And the guy that was there to attack Evie, he comes out of like the room, and he's like on fire.
Yep.
One of them shoots him.
Yep.
And then he jumps off, and then the Americans realize, oh yeah, no, but then the Jonathan Hyde character, he's still like cowering in the corner.
Yes. Yeah, Dr. Chamberlain.
Yeah. And then they get to the shore.
They all jump.
Yeah. The boat explodes.
Yeah, so we just see Rick and Evie and Jonathan and the warden, crawling up on the shore. Then we hear Benny yelling out to Rick, and Rick turns around, and Benny and everybody else is on the other side of the river. They're on the other shore, and Benny's yelling out, "Hey Rick, looks like I have all the horses." And Rick's like, "Hey Benny, looks like you're on the wrong side of the river."
But,
I always liked how he says river. He's like, river!
River, Phoenix!
It's like, looks like you're on the wrong side of the river!
But, Evie, she's like, all her clothes are gone.
Yeah, she's just in her nightgown.
So they find some, traders, and they get clothes, they get some camels.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, they get camels, get supplies that they had lost on the boat. And then Evie comes out in this beautiful black dress, dressed like an Egyptian. She's got the veil and, all this. And Rick does a double take because it's not what she looked like before.
And he's telling Jonathan just to pay the guy, not to haggle too much, because they're in a tight spot. Like, they need stuff, right? They're going through the desert. They definitely need some type of transport, right? And then the Egyptian ladies are swatting away the warden. He's a very lonely man.
He is a very lonely man.
Those Egyptian ladies are not that lonely.
And he's going to continue to be a lonely man.
That needs to protect his investment.
Yes.
So they get the camels, they go off, and we see them going through several days. And one evening, he's just like falling asleep on the camel. And then Rick looks up and he sees some guys on horses up on top of a cliff.
Yep.
He sees Ardith Bay. He's like, this one is strong. He recognizes him from
he recognizes him from years earlier when he said that the Sahara would take him. Apparently he was wrong.
And so they finally, it's like the next morning, they're getting there, and this is another plot hole I don't get, and it's okay, is coming from the other direction are the Americans and Benny and all their people. So how are they coming from opposite directions when the only starting point they didn't really have? I mean, they almost had the same starting point except from being on the wrong side of the river.
Yeah. Yep.
And they remind Jonathan about they remind Rick, about the bet.
Yeah, and so instead of everybody like continuing toward Hymenoptera, they all stop and they're talking. They all know that they have this bet going, but all of them stop.
Maybe they have to stop for because it's almost like a mirage that allows it to appear.
Yeah. If
they don't stop, it doesn't happen.
Yeah, so maybe they have to stop and wait for the right time.
Yeah.
So okay.
It's still weird, regardless.
That would make sense then.
The other thing I think is hilarious is Benny is mocking Rick. He's like, "Hey Rick, nice camel." Benny's on a camel. Himself. I get they had all the horses, but he himself is riding a camel. As they're racing to get to Hymenoptera, Benny's also on a camel.
Yep. Yep, and he's making fun of Rick on a camel. So the Americans have horses, but Benny's on a camel.
No, and then Rick is able to throw him off the camel, but then Evie's camel gets a sunburst.
Evie's camel had the nitrous oxide boosters. So she had Vin Diesel's camel.
Vin Diesel stole those.
So she had Vin Diesel's camel.
How Vin Diesel found his way in this movie, I don't know. I guess the Fast and the Furious is a Universal movie, and somehow it just it crossed over.
And it was really only a couple of years later that Fast and Furious came out. So maybe this was a little,
maybe like after Paul Walker like was killed, like somehow his disembodied spirit was able to bring Vin Diesel into the 1920s.
Maybe.
And give Richard Weiss's camel a nitrous booster.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe that could be an interesting Fast and the Furious movie where they just race camels.
I'm kind of surprised that they haven't done time travel in those movies yet.
No, like they need one where it's just camels.
Yeah,
there's gonna be a camel one, and they're just there's some type of stunts in terms of stealing Egyptian antiquities.
Yep.
So. She reaches there first.
Yeah, so she blows ahead of everybody.
Rick get the money that he's rightfully owed.
Yeah.
So, now they're all on their, different parts of the site, dig, whatever way you want to call it.
Yeah, they're camping out, throughout the ruins of Hamunaptra, and they, in the middle of the night.
Well, I mean, even
Dr. Chamberlain, Dr. Chamberlain has the book. So he's got the book.
He finds the book at the feet of Anubis. So they're all digging and initially this is again getting into prejudice against a woman. There's a certain site where Rick and them are digging, and the Americans are recognizing that. It's like, do they know something? The cowboy guy, right? And they're like, do you know something? Do they know something we don't? He's like, they're led by a woman. What does a woman know?
Yeah. So they get to the feet of Anubis.
Jonathan Hyde does a good job of portraying arrogant guys.
Yes. Yes.
So they get down into their room.
In fact, he would be he would be good in it, to play the part of a chief of radiology somewhere at some hospital.
In Virginia,
just an arrogant bastard. But
anyway, just throwing it out there.
Yeah, but.
They get down to their little chamber is they open into, and
the Americans
talking about how there's these discs that are meant to capture light, how it's set up.
Yeah, these mirrors. Because before they went in there, there was this round mirror outside that she was sort of polishing up, and was it Rick or Jonathan that asked her what she was doing?
It was Jonathan.
Yeah, so she's asked what she's doing. She's like, you'll see.
Yeah, and you get down there, it's oh yeah, that is a neat trick because we had they set it off, and the sun once it captures one is able to
and it reflects it on the next mirror, and the next one just goes down and lights up. Yeah, overhead lighting. But yeah, so it lights up the entire chamber.
And then they each eventually meet at the foot of the statue of Anubis. They each we're following
Rick and them,
and they hear these voices, and then they converge on the Americans.
Yeah, but the Americans are in a different area first where they find the book, because they're trying to pry open the compartment under the feet.
Right. Well, they meet up together there, right?
No, but when Rick and Evie aren't there when they actually open it, because then you have the salt acid that flies out.
They leave because Evie she's looking around, she realizes that there's another level below there, right?
Yeah. And
so she convinces Rick and them to leave. Other places to dig.
That's right.
Because they had that little standoff.
Yeah.
Right. And so, they leave the Americans there. The kind of just really only work within the feet of, not even the feet, right there, the base of Anubis, right? And they go directly under. She's figured out where they are directly under, thinking that they're going to find more there than what the Americans have. So you have a scene where, you're saying, they're trying to pry open.
Yeah, and then
this compartment.
So the Americans are trying to pry it open, but then was it Chamberlain that tells them stop?
Yeah,
we have diggers for that.
Seti was not a stupid man.
Yeah, Seti was not a stupid man. We have diggers for that. So let them pry it open. So they get the local Egyptian diggers to go over and pry the thing open, and sure enough,
they get their faces melted off.
Yes.
They needed Sulla.
They needed Sulla. Sulla would have been like, no, my people are not going to be prying this thing open for you, and with lunch, you better hold the onions.
We like a good cheesesteak. but not with onions.
Even though onions are great on a cheesesteak, though.
I mean, they could.
Yeah, so they pry the cover, like the panel off of the compartment, and this white powder comes flying out at them. It's salt acid, and it melts their faces off.
Meanwhile, you got Evie and Jonathan and Rick. They're down below, and they're trying to find things, and the warden's not there.
No, the warden's not there because he found something.
Jonathan's playing golf.
Yeah.
And he shoots a shot, and this sarcophagus just falls straight down.
Yeah.
And they're kind of looking at things, and eventually it cuts to the warden, and he's just off doing his own thing, and he sees this wall. Looks like these jewels, which are
it looks like there's like these like emerald scarabs in there.
Yeah,
right? These like jeweled scarabs, and so he's figures they're worth a lot of money, so he starts picking them off of there, and
then one falls to the ground.
Yeah, one of them falls to the ground, and then ends up the jeweled looking part is just basically an outer shell. It breaks out of that and runs into his foot and sort of gets under his skin and starts traveling up his leg. And so he freaks out. He starts running around, screaming. And Rick and Evie and them find him. They see him running around, and he just runs head first right into the wall. Just full on runs right into the wall head first and dies. Breaks his neck, dies.
And so the talk of that evening, and
but first, no, they found the sarcophagus had fallen, and they realized that
they're able to open it up.
Yeah, it needs a key to be opened. It has this little star-shaped thing on it, and that's when Evie realizes the puzzle box, when it opens up, it has that shape. So she realizes that it's not just a puzzle block; it's a key. So she unlocks it, opens it, and they find this juicy mummy, which should not be juicy. And, he's got a message written, like, scratched out on the inside of the sarcophagus. And, then that's when the warden comes by. But yeah, so the Americans inside that compartment, that face-melting compartment, had found the Book of Amun-Ra. The Golden Book, the Book of the Living. And so Dr. Chamberlain, Jonathan Hyde, he will not let this book go.
Yeah. And the Americans this, we thought there was treasure. This is treasure.
Yeah. So they're all out camping outside in the ruins, and Jonathan Hyde is sleeping, and he's cradling
before this, they still have the scene where the night before, there's 2 nights, right? Because the night before is when the Magi come in and try to scare them off. Right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
There's a little. They shoot around.
Yeah, and they tell him to leave.
And the Americans are there's got to be treasure here. There's got to be, Rick's no, these are nomads. Treasure means nothing to them.
Yeah.
They're protecting something else.
Yeah.
And then the nerdy guy, right? He's maybe at the evening, we can actually join forces, right?
Yes.
Not be enemies, right?
Yeah. So then also, So then after they find the book, after Rick and Evie and them find the mummy, then the Americans find another little compartment. They find another little box that contains the jars.
Jar.
Yes.
Which would have held the organs of Noxamun.
Noxamun.
Trying to raise her from the dead.
Yes.
Right? And that's the treasure. Oh yeah.
Are they? Is that Noxamun's organs, or is that Imhotep's organs that they find?
I don't know. That's a good question. So that was the purpose would have been to carry organs, right? And did we I think we mentioned.
And there was also a curse written on the crate also.
Yes. Then Benny runs off, which is important.
Yes, because Benny's with them when they find it, and they said, whoever opens this, a curse will fall on them or something like that. And so Benny freaks out and runs off. And after he runs off, and that's when the Americans open it.
Stupid, superstitious bastard. And then that's when when they're investigating more of the sarcophagus skeleton, he was she realizes that the curse has been put upon him, which was like a feared curse. She explains this, right? He's like, he must have been, or I guess even before that, she realized, like, because he was buried at the base of Anubis, he was either very important or he did something very naughty.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yes.
Or he did something very naughty.
Very naughty. Oh, he did something naughty, all right.
But yeah, then you get back to the evening again, and then she sees the doctor. He's asleep.
She's Dr. Chamberlain. He's sleeping, and he's like just holding that book in his arms. He's cuddling with it, but he hasn't been able to open it because it needs a key to open.
Right.
So he's just holding on to it, and he's sleeping. And so
she realizes that she has the key.
Yes, because it's the same kind of lock that was on the sarcophagus that she opened earlier.
And then she comes over, and Rick sees her. Is like, that's stealing,
Yeah, she goes and takes the book from
brother. It's borrowing.
Yes, according to my brother, it's borrowing. So she takes it back to her little campsite, and she opens it up, and
then he's like, "Are you sure we should read that?" And she's like, "No harm's ever come from reading a book." Yeah.
Little does she know that harm is about to come from reading a book.
Of it later.
Yeah.
Right. And like it all comes quick because like she starts reading off all of it because she can read ancient hieroglyphics, and somehow the doctor knows she's reading it. He's like, "No, we must not read from the book." And then a swarm of locusts come. Right? And then you hear that. You see, as she's reading it, like it cuts to the mummy, and then he awakens, and roars, and
yep.
That's when he's like, "No, he must not read from the book." And that's from where locusts come.
And that's exactly what he sounds like too.
And somehow he has like he gets it back, and he doesn't have it back, but he's like, "What have we done?"
Yeah, so they all run inside the tomb to try to get away from the locusts.
Right, but you get a mummy now roaming around.
Yep.
And this is where like the mummy is like, this is where the effects are really good and really well done.
Yeah.
When he wakes up, and then you get they're all running off, and then like let's get his name. You just can't. You gotta stop calling him just like the nerdy guy.
The nerdy guy.
Burns.
Yeah, Burns. Tuck Watkins.
Played by
Mr. Burns.
Tuck Watkins, who would end up going on to play in Desperate Housewives.
Oh, okay.
I don't know a lot about Desperate Housewives. I remember it being a massive hit, but I have a Y chromosome. So.
Yep, I never really watched that show.
Anyway, he's got glasses, right? And then they're all running off, and he falls. Of course, his glasses fall off.
Yes, his glasses fall off his face, and then Benny comes running by.
Runs around, and
he's like, "Benny, help me find my glasses!" And Benny just keeps on running, steps on his glasses, because it's always what happens when somebody has glasses and they're trying to run from something.
They fall off.
They fall off and then get stepped on.
They just fall off that easily.
Yes, and then they always fall right in the path of somebody's feet.
The dude just should have had laser eye surgery. That's simple.
Yeah. They had that in the 20s, right? I mean, they have it in the 2020s. Why couldn't they have had it in the 1920s?
Anyway. So he's searching around, and you can tell, like, give his point of view, like, he's got, like, basically no vision. It's all incredibly blurry.
It's all blurry. And, he stumbles across the mummy, Imhotep.
Yeah. You just hear him go, "Rah!" He hears him go, "Oh!" Right? And then, it cuts to everybody else. And eventually see this whole thing where, like, not sure how this happens and how, but this whole mound of scarabs just pop up.
Yeah. And they're chasing everybody down.
And one of the poor Egyptian people falls, and as the sacrifice, apparently.
Yeah, and he gets consumed by the scarabs in the same way that the Russians were getting consumed by the ants in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Strangely enough, these scarabs, though, are far more convincing than those ants.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
This is 9 years earlier.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, there were some areas of CGI in this movie that were top notch for the time.
Oh yeah, totally. And then Evie, she goes off to the side, and somehow, I don't know why, there's this wall that gives way to go into a passageway. But then she stumbles into Burns, right?
Yep. And he's missing his eyes and his tongue.
And she's freaking out. And then she stumbles upon Imhotep, the mummy, right?
And he has a brand new pair of eyes and a brand new tongue. But what I don't know... So
this is good CG. This is good effects.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Very good effects. But what I don't get, he took Burns' eyes. Burns wore glasses. Why doesn't Imhotep have to wear glasses?
I was wondering this too, should his eyes should be fuck.
I took the wrong eyes.
And then he calls her Noxamoon. And
yes, he calls her Noxamoon.
Oh. And the other thing I don't get is I like when she tries to ask Burns to help her. It's like what's he gonna do?
Yeah.
He's got no eyes.
I mean, he had a hard time seeing before, but now he can't see anything. And he can't speak because he has no tongue.
Please help me. He doesn't have Saeed's crazy breakdancing ninja moves.
No, he does not.
But then eventually, somehow, Rick and Jonathan run by her, and it's like Evie, we gotta go. And then I love this scene because he sees the mummy, he's like, oh, whoa, and then the mummy's like, roar. His love Brendan Fraser, it's like, ah!
Yeah, Brendan Fraser's like, ah.
And shoots him.
Yep.
And we see the mummy get up and do a thing, and then they get back to their camp, and then the Magi are there, and
they're like, we told you guys to leave.
What I don't get is couldn't they just say there is a creature here that if you wake him up, he will destroy the world?
Yeah, I mean,
can't you say that?
You'd think, but I don't know. Maybe they had rules against revealing what exactly it was. But no, it would make sense to just be like, hey, if you go in here and wake up this mummy, it's going to be immortal and kill everything on Earth. So please don't do that.
So they all leave, and then but then they're able to rescue Burns, and I don't know where the mummy went at that point. That's why I don't get he was still there with him. He could have finished the job right then, but he doesn't.
Yeah.
And Benny's going around, and he bumps into Benny, and Benny's got every religious symbol.
Yeah.
Chain around.
And so he's pulling up each one individually, and he's speaking in that language, the little prayer.
And he tries Islam, and he tries some Buddhist stuff.
Yeah. And finally he picks up the Star of David and starts speaking Hebrew. And Imhotep stops. He's like, the language of the slaves. You can be useful to me. So he takes Benny as his lackey.
Yeah. We cut forward, and everyone's in Cairo, and Rick's saying he's gonna leave, and along with the Americans, and Rachel Weisz is like, no, or he's like, no, we need to help finish this thing. It's like, what's this we? You're the one that read the book.
I told you not to read from the book.
They already got the couple thing down really, really well.
Yes. Yes.
Not really
the two of them have fantastic chemistry in this movie. They really do. Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz, they have such great chemistry in this movie.
He's even trying to pack her suitcase for her.
Yes.
And she unpacks it.
She unpacks it. Oh.
And then, they're going to fight. They're like, fine. And he leaves. And they go down to there's a hotel lobby, and he run I like how they just kind of casually introduce this new character. Who's this old British pilot that he knew
Winston.
Winston. Played by Bernard Fox, who's just another terrific guy.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Who, most people today, if you're younger, probably wouldn't know a lot of these things, but 30 years ago, if someone had seen, someone was a little bit older was watching this, would know him from Bewitched and Andy Griffith, right?
Yeah.
Just another fantastic British actor. Anyway,
but also in this part we have Mr. Burns is meeting with somebody.
Yeah,
somebody in a mask. He doesn't know who it is because obviously he can't see him.
Can't see anything.
But yeah, so Benny has introduced him to this mysterious person, and
not just masked. He's
he's cloaked, completely cloaked. He's got his mask on, and he's saying they're talking, and the masked cloaked guy is saying that I'll soon have the rest of what I need.
Yep.
And then he takes the mask off, and it's Imhotep. And
well, Benny's Prince Imhotep thanks you for your eyes, for your tongue. But I'm afraid more is needed.
Yeah.
He realizes in this blood curdling scream, right?
Yep.
And then, I love how there's scarabs on them somehow.
Yes.
I don't know. But then you have Rick, and then the Americans and Jonathan. They're all in the lobby of the hotel and about to have shots together. And there's even other just random Egyptian people there drinking wine, right?
Yep.
And they all spit it out.
Because
and then they realize it tastes like blood. And Jonathan's like, oh, he's here.
And they look at the fountain, and the fountain, all of a sudden, the water turns to blood.
Yep.
And so then we get cuts to Evie's room, and she's in there.
He gets it we got problems.
Yeah. So Imhotep has this. I guess he got a power to turn to sand, and he turns to sand and goes in through the keyhole. And then reforms into himself, because why not? Not only is he immortal, but he's also Sandman.
Yeah.
So, okay.
And then they show up and but then the cat scares him off.
Yes. So he's in there, and they're trying to fight him off, and then the cat jumps down onto the piano.
The piano. Yes.
And he sees the cat. Freaks out and turns into sand again and flies
off
into
the
wind.
Really good effects.
Yes,
because you have his face and then the hand, and then so then they go back to the university, right? And they see Arthur Bay there. What's his name?
Back to the museum.
Dr. Bay, right?
Yeah, Dr. Bay.
And they realize that they're working together. They kind of
Yeah, they realize that Dr. Bay is working with the Magi.
Yes. And they're saying, kind of get the lowdown that, he needs to fully assimilate, but he needs a human sacrifice for replace, to sacrifice so that they realize
so that he can resurrect Anoxinamun.
Resurrect Anoxinamun, but he needs a human to sacrifice. Chosen that. That's Evie.
Yes, he's chosen Evie as his sacrifice.
They're saying that in the meantime, because the cats are guardians of the underworld, he will fear them until he's fully regenerated.
Yeah.
And then he will fear nothing. Again, information that would have been useful 48 hours ago.
Yes. When they took the map to him in the first place. That's all he had to say. Like, hey, I know about this place. Don't go there. There's a mummy there that if he is released will bring havoc to the entire world.
So they go back and they're trying to figure out how they're gonna go about things. They lock Evie in a room, right? And they that wasn't Johnson. It was Mr. Henderson, right? Played by Stephen Dunham. Well, both of them. They were gonna him and Daniels were gonna guard Evie, right?
Yeah.
Right, he's like, no one gets in, no one gets out.
But then we've also got one of the Boyles come.
Oh, that's right.
Because we've got.
How do they come?
Yeah, because we got all of.
Because they also realized that everyone that opened that chest is going to die.
Yes.
And
because that's what
they're
the
still
curse said.
missing, so Henderson and Daniels are there, but Dr. Chamberlain's not.
Yeah, so Dr. Chamberlain's outside.
And he's running around, and someone's stalking him,
and Jonathan's outside also, but Jonathan didn't open the case, so he's fine for that.
Yeah,
he's not being hunted for opening the chest, but all these hordes of people come, all chanting Imhotep.
That happens later.
Is it later?
He hasn't. Yeah. Because who's got to die first?
Because Chamberlain.
Because they kill Chamberlain, then he releases all the. And
flies.
They're seeing this, and they're up in the room, and he releases all these flies.
Yeah.
Over them, right?
Green Mile style.
Before that,
releases the flies Green Mile style, just out of his mouth.
Because you have Henderson and Daniels, and Daniels leaves Henderson to guard Evie alone, and then Imhotep comes back in, and then you just kind of see him picked up in the shadow and just make quick work of, right?
Yeah.
And then he pours in through the keyhole into Evie's room where she's sleeping, right? And then Rick comes in, and he knows about the cat already, right? Because he has the cat. He's like, look what I have.
He's like, surprise! Yeah, so I guess this is when he goes into the keyhole, not earlier. But yeah, this is the keyhole part. But yeah. But yeah, Rick's waiting with the cat. He's like, surprise! And scares him off. And then, this is when we have 3 or 4 plagues in quick succession.
So this is when they get, Then you also got the hailstorm.
Yep, and the fire. Yeah, the fire from the sky.
Yeah,
and then we got the boils.
We don't see the frogs.
No, we don't see the frogs. We don't see the death of the firstborn.
So I don't think there's I don't think it necessarily goes in order as it is in the book of Exodus.
No, it doesn't. Because the first one in Exodus was the blood, water turning to blood, and the first one in the movie was the locust. So
yeah, which actually happens immediately.
Yeah. So yeah, it's not going in the order that it went in the Bible, but
it's fine. It doesn't say it has to. So
no.
It's not. The curse doesn't say it's going to be that order.
No. But
so. Anyway,
Yeah, so there's these hordes of people with boils coming in, chanting
'cause
Imhotep's name.
Eventually, they go back to the museum because they realize that they need to find the Book of the Living, which they don't have yet.
No, so they had the Book of the Living, the Book of the Book of Amun Ra is the Book of the Living, the gold one. The black one is the Book of the Dead. So in order to, so the Book of the Living, they go back to the museum to like read off, where it might be, and that's when he's kind of like enslaved all the people of Cairo to kind of come. So the Book of the Living brings him to life. The Book of the Dead takes away his immortality and kills him. Or really, the Book of the Dead, from what they
kill him, but takes away his immortality.
So but at this point, they think that from everything that they have, that everything that they know, it kills them. At this point in time. So so while they're learning about that, these hordes of people come in, and Jonathan's still outside.
Yeah.
And so they're coming up on him, and he's got to think quick. So he just real quick starts, just walking like a zombie, like they're walking, and starts chanting Imhotep, Imhotep, until they get past him. Then he kind of ducks off into an alley.
And then meanwhile, Evie, she's trying to read off, the tablet, about where to find the book. Rick's like, "Can you hurry?" She's like, "Patience is a virtue. Patience is a virtue."
Yeah.
They break through the museum. He's like, "Not right now, it isn't." And she figures it out. She's like, "Take that, Bainbridge scholars."
Yeah. Take that, Cambridge scholars.
Yeah, you got Rick, you got Evie. You got what? You have
Jonathan.
Daniels, because Henderson's already dead. Right?
Yeah.
You got Bay, and you got both Bay. You got Ardith Bay and Dr. Terrence.
No, Daniels was the one that stayed behind and was killed by Imhotep, wasn't he? In the shadow, that you saw the shadow. So Henderson's the one that's left.
That was Henderson. Yes.
Was it?
So that was Henderson. Yeah, Stephen Dunham.
Okay.
Corey Johnson is the one that who ended up being like in Hellboy.
Yeah.
And Kingsman.
Yeah.
Ex Machina. And Doctor Who.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's the one that tries to go down.
There's another for Who's Who of Doctor Who.
As they're fleeing in the car, he kind of falls off, and then the slaves corner him, and then Imhotep comes up, and then holds up the jar. They kind of feel bad for him.
Yeah.
Tough way to die, and even Benny has to close his eyes and look away. So, and they're driving, but then they still got these hordes of guys that are enslaved by Imhotep, and they're kind of cornered, and then Imhotep comes up and promises he's going to save them if Evie comes with him. And he promises that. Then he says, "Kill them all." Right.
Yeah.
And thankfully, there's a manhole right there that they can escape through. Except for Dr. Bay, who basically holds off all of them while they escape down.
Yep.
Right. And so then they realize that they need to race back to Hamunaptra, right? And then that's when they hook up with Winston again.
And the next shot they're
like how he convinces him, "You will probably die." He's like bloody good or something like that.
Yeah.
And he's he's excited that it's
he's excited and he's drunk and
yeah, he's drunk. He's a drunkard, essentially. Yeah. I love how they're flying, right?
Yeah, they're flying. So he's got a biplane, right?
Yeah.
And they're flying on a biplane. Winston's flying, and then Evie is in the co-pilot / passenger seat, and then Rick and Jonathan are each strapped to the wings.
Well, no, Rick is in the gunner seat, right?
Oh yes, that's right. That's right. Yeah, Rick is in the gunner seat. Yeah, it's Jonathan and Ardith Bay. Yes, it's Jonathan and Ardith Bay who are strapped to the wings.
And I love it. It's like eventually he's like, he goes to Jonathan. He's like, "How you doing?" He's like, "Do I bloody look all right?" And then he goes to Ardith Bay. He's like, "How you doing?" He's just got this
big smile on his face. He's loving
it. It reminds me of Galaxy Quest.
Yes.
With Tony Shalhoub.
Yes.
Little handy snacks. Just...
Oh yes. Oh yeah. Love that. It's totally like him. It's totally like Tony Shalhoub in Galaxy Quest. He's eating the handy snacks while everyone else is freaking out.
They catch up and they see this sandstorm. And the sandstorm is just Imhotep.
Yeah.
Danny Levy traveling to Hamunaptra.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Because Imhotep took Evie.
And Winston's like, I've never seen the sandstorm like that before, whatever. And then eventually it settles, it stops, and then there's like Imhotep's down there, right? And Evie sees them and she's excited. She thinks, oh great, they're alive. We're gonna feed them. And he does,
Yep.
Pulls up a wall of sand.
Yep, and then his face shows up in it.
And again, it's so cool. And then Rick starts shooting at it, right?
Yep.
It keeps gaining on them, and it looks like it swallows.
Yep, it looks like it swallows them. But yeah, the plane crashes. We get Rick.
And then he's like, I like the whole sand wall.
Yeah,
he's still trying to kiss up to him.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, Rick and Ardith and Jonathan all get up, dust themselves off, and they go and they find Winston dead with a big smile on his face.
And then the sand, the plane sinks in quicksand.
Yeah, the plane sinks in quicksand, but not before Ardith Bay got the gun.
I was gonna say,
he was able to get the gun off of the plane.
Gets the gun off,
and just throws it over his shoulder and you walk away with it.
There's several characters that we have covered in other movies that would be very proud of how he handled that.
Yes. Yes.
And it's important. It's actually very important for later in the movie.
Yes, it is.
It's a very good thing that he took the gun.
Yes.
So, they finally get, Imhotep, he gets to the preparation room where he's got the jars now, right?
Yes,
so
he's got the jars
I guess
now.
that's the idea with the jars, is that he's going to take out Evie's organs and put them in there.
No, I guess those are the Noxinamun's organs, so he's got the jars out there to... I don't know, is he going to take Evie's organs out, or is he going to use the organs that are in there to replace put in Noxinamun? Because Noxinamun's mummified body's there too.
Yes. He dug it up some. I guess he's going to... I guess he's got the power.
I guess what would happen is, he would sacrifice Evie, and then her spirit or her essence would go into Noxinamun and restore her to her former glory, her former self. But yeah, so he's all ready to do that, and Rick and Jonathan and Ardith are
they discovered the treasure, but then they had to keep moving forward, and then they were trying to dig out further,
because they got Benny with them now too,
and
they come across Benny in there.
Discovered the another wall that's got the scarabs, and Jonathan takes one of them off, right?
Yep.
And he's looking at it in his hand,
and it does the same thing that it did with. Yep, does the same thing it did with the warden. It opens up and it crawls under his skin and it starts going up his arm.
Pocket knife on him, and he digs it out, right?
Yep.
And then
He grabs his arm, pops
he
the
shoots
scarab out.
as it hits the ground and starts running towards him, and he shoots it, right?
Yep.
And excuse me. So, but then like it's a gunshot, right? And Imhotep hears it, and he clicks the dust, and then he blows at it, right? And these other like skeletons and mummies come out of a wall that are apparently his priest.
Yeah. Yeah.
He
So
tells him to kill them all. So
yeah, so they show up, and Rick's like, "Who are they?" And Ardeth's like, "Priests, Imhotep's priests."
and Rick's like, okay. They just start shooting at all of them. So, and I like, again, like, this is a fun part of it. Like, it's a whole fight where they have to fighting off with them, and eventually, like, they almost kind of like get cornered in that where they got to stick a dynamite.
Yep.
Rick lights it.
Yep.
He strikes him. He lights the match. Face. Lights the dynamite. Cuts the wick short first, right?
Yep.
And then throws it off, and they explode, and they keep going, right? Eventually, Bay realizes that he's gonna have to go through this corridor and like draw them away, and so Rick and Jonathan can go get Evie. But he's got the gun.
Good
from
thing
the
he's got the gun from the plane.
And he starts shooting at all of them, and meanwhile, all this is going on. Benny is still lurking around, right? The treasure room.
Yeah, he's collecting as much treasure as he can. He's got saddlebags that he's loading up with gold and all this stuff, and he doesn't care what's happening to everybody else. He just wants his gold. He wants his treasure.
But Rick is able to, Jonathan, to get there to, to stop the ritual, right? Just as like, Imhotep's about to
stab Evie.
Evie, right? But like meanwhile, like Anaxamun's corpse has been reanimated,
yes.
right?
Yeah, so there's this other mummy running around. And yeah, so Rick is fighting Imhotep, and Jonathan has gotten a hold of the book.
Yes.
So because they came across the Book of the Dead. So Jonathan is he's got the book, and he's trying to read it, but he can't figure out what one of these symbols is. This last symbol, it's a bird, a stork. And so he's yelling to Evie, trying to describe what it is, and she's like, it's a menaphis. So, oh, that's right, it's a menaphis. Okay, so then he reads the thing, and
right, and like the Evie is kind of fighting with Anaxamun's corpse, and then like the priests are fighting with Rick.
Yeah.
And he's kind of like cornered by all of them, right?
Well, Rick's kind of fighting the priest and Imhotep.
Yes. He is fighting both. Yes.
Yeah.
And the priest, like, about to stab him, and then, Jonathan calls, he reads off the chant, or I guess not curse, but.
No, he reads off the spell.
The spell. Yes, spell. Thank you.
And right before they bring their little scimitars down into Rick's face, they stop and then stand at attention.
Yep. And then he tells them to kill
Anaxamun. So they turn on Anaxamun.
And it's kind of a callback to the opening scene of the movie where you just see the shadow of herself, bringing the dagger into her gullet. Right?
Yeah. So, but here it's the shadow of the priest just slashing her up. And
then Imhotep sees that. He's obviously pissed.
Yeah.
He's like, now you die.
Yeah, and at this point, Jonathan had given Evie the book, and so she's reading the correct passage to basically end the curse.
Right. But now, like, Imhotep's gone up to Rick, and he's got him by the throat, right? You know, he's now it's your turn.
Yeah, so he's holding Rick by the throat. He's about to kill him, and Evie reads the passage, and all of a sudden, this ghostly chariot comes down and takes away Imhotep's spirit, basically, from what it looks like. It like drags him away.
It's like,
yeah,
he throws out. It's like, anyway.
So then Rick's like, I thought you said it was supposed to kill him. And meanwhile, Imhotep turns around to go toward Rick, and Rick just puts his sword right into his belly.
Like, he's mortal now.
And she's like, he's mortal now. And Imhotep falls into the pit next to him.
We get out the part, like, earlier in this scene where, like, they slice off Imhotep's arm.
Yes. They slice off Imhotep's arm, and then he just picks it up and puts it back on.
Anyway. You know, he just has the sword out, and Imhotep just walks straight into it.
Yep. Has the sword out, Imhotep walks into it, and then it's like, he's mortal now. And then he takes a few steps back and holds his stomach, and then just falls into the pit next to him and dies.
Pit of water, pool, and dies, and then, like, death is only the beginning.
And sort of sinks down.
Meanwhile, Benny's still taking all the treasure.
Yep.
So classic booby trap.
Yeah, so Benny, he's got a saddlebag full of treasure, and he's walking out toward the hall, and then he puts it down on a little piece sticking out of the wall that is clearly a lever. You look at the thing; it is clearly a lever.
Oh, Benny.
And he puts the saddlebag on top of that, and the weight of it pushes the lever down, and that triggers the entire pyramid to sink into the ground. So the place starts crumbling around him. You know, Rick and Evie and Jonathan go running. And
they run past Benny. They get out, and Rick, because he's a good dude, still tries to save Benny. But Benny can't crawl under the compartment.
Yeah, the door's coming down.
And Rick's just like, goodbye, Benny.
Rick waits till the last second because he's trying to get Benny out of there, and say, okay, goodbye, Benny, and leaves, and you know, backs out of there, and just in time. And Benny is able to crawl back out into the treasure room. You know, before the ceiling like crushes him as it's coming down, and so he's in this.
But he's got another problem now.
Yes, because he, as the place is you know collapsing, it knocks one of the mirrors that is lighting the place, so it all goes dark.
Yeah.
And then there are scarabs.
There's scarabs, and he hears them, and you just hear him scream. And
yep.
I don't know. In some ways, is that like? I don't know. I feel like Benny needs slightly more gruesome death. I mean, it's a gruesome death.
It is a gruesome death, but I don't know.
Quick.
Yeah, he kind of needs sort of like like an Indiana Jones bad guy death, you know?
Yeah,
one of the henchmen. The main henchman deaths from Indiana Jones. You know, like a melting face or you know, something like that.
De-aging. Quickly aging.
Yeah.
Until you're nothing but a skeleton.
Or, you know, riding a tank over a cliff and hanging on all the way down.
or skiing down a cliff with your head into, a river of alligators.
Yeah, it's a river of crocodiles that'll then, dance on your corpse.
But you think about he helped bring. No, I mean I get the other guys. I guess that was kind of quick, but kind of bad, walking away too. Like I feel like you needed something a little bit more. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, even some of the guys, some of the just random Nazi dudes, they got entire holes burned through their torsos.
Yeah. 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 So anyway, Rick and Evie and Jonathan barely make it out of Hamunaptra before it all goes down, and Jonathan's upset that that they left the treasure in there, that they can't go back and get it.
But then, Bay, he shows up, he scares them, right?
Yeah.
He's like, "We thank you." It still would have been helpful.
Yeah.
If you told about this earlier, so this never happened.
Yes. So many people wouldn't have died.
Does Cairo ever recover from this? A lot of shit happened in Cairo.
I mean, this is the second time in history that the plagues have happened.
All those people that were mind controlled slaves of Imhotep, okay, so that gets broken, but they just think, oh, okay, what happened here?
Yeah.
It's anyway, why did I drink blood?
Yeah. 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 All these people that have no idea what's going on. Just a random, Cairo residents. I was
boils.
sitting in the bath, and all of a sudden, I'm in a tub full of blood.
So, but he goes off, and he leaves them to do their own thing. And
he leaves them.
Don's like, "Thank you." I love the scene too. Finally, Evie, Rick's like, "Oh no, I'm not going home empty-handed." And then this is.
He's got his real cheesy line, and then, he and Evie are making eyes at each other, and, they kiss. And then
Jonathan's like, "Oh, please."
Jonathan goes to the camel. He's like, "Hey, how about a little kiss, a little smoochy?" And the camel just breathes in his face.
And they attempt to ride off, and then not attempt to ride off.
No, they go riding off into the sunset,
riding off. And you see the saddlebag.
Yeah, you see that Benny was able to get out to the camels once or twice before getting that last saddlebag. And there is some treasure in the saddlebags on the camels.
And if you watch the Roman Returns, you do realize that the three of them are quite wealthy. Because of it.
Because of the treasure that is in those saddlebags. So, yeah.
And that's the movie. It cuts to the credits, and I like the credit sequence. It's the walls of a pyramid, and they got the hieroglyphs, and and they made, like you said, they made multiple sequels, and with very diminishing returns.
Yep.
The Movie Returns is a fun movie.
The Movie Returns is a fun movie. Tomb of the Dragon Emperor is. I've only seen part of that one, but I mean, it was. You knew it was going to be. It was not going to be nearly the caliber of the other ones, especially the first one, when they replaced Rachel Weisz with Maria Bello. I mean, nothing against Maria Bello. I like her; she's a great actress, but. It's just a character as important as Evie. When you recast it suddenly like that.
Two movies, and she's part of the reason everyone liked the first two movies.
Yeah.
It's too integral of a role.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, and Mummy Returns, like we talked about the CGI, it was bad. It was bad, but
Yeah.
it's fun in part.
But what's weird is there are parts of the movie where the CGI is actually really good.
Yes.
But it's just...
But not when it comes to Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah, when it comes to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, was that his first film role?
I think it was.
Was that his first film role? Was The Mummy Returns? But yeah, the Scorpion King CGI is just terrible in that movie. But yeah. But anyway, yeah. So that's The Mummy.
It was his first film role. Was The Mummy Returns, right? And it's more like, again, it's part of the prologue, and he gets that cameo towards the end again. And they did a spin-off of the Scorpion King, where like all of a sudden he's more like a good guy.
Yeah.
Not a bad guy. Anyway.
Yeah, but it was pre Scorpion King. It was like like Curse of the Scorpion King kind of thing.
Yeah. But before he really started making that transition to like being an actor as opposed to just a wrestler. Right?
Yeah. But
because then it's gets a rundown, Walking Tall after that, and Doom. It's the beginning of his movie career. So
that's The Mummy.
It's like a great slice of kind of like late 90s kind of adventure action blockbuster type movies.
Yeah.
So
yeah, great movie. It's always a fun watch. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it.
The chemistry of the movie really sells it.
Yes.
And I was surprised even thinking about it kind of helped make Arnold Vosloo, but he almost has no lines.
Yeah.
He has a few, but it doesn't speak that much in it.
But I mean, they're all also in ancient Egyptian, so
yeah, no, he doesn't really even speak in English. It's all ancient Egyptian.
Yeah. So.
But no, he just has such a presence in it.
Yeah, but it's
love it.
Brilliantly cast, brilliantly acted.
Again, yeah. The movie to watch on a Friday night with some popcorn, nachos, or a pizza.
Yep.
With other people, whether they've seen it or not, or they haven't seen it. No.
Yeah, it's definitely best to watch it with other people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fun to watch alone too, but you get more out of it if you watch it with other people.
Yeah, it's funny. I started watching it alone when I was doing it for this episode. Then Nicole came in about halfway through, and I think she'd seen it when it first came out, but it's been 25 years, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny, her reaction's like, "Oh, I recognize that person. I recognize that person." She laughed at certain parts, and it was fun to watch together. So, and I was hoping to show Charles, and eventually I will. So it just didn't work out in time. Yeah. But I hope anyone that hasn't seen it, that watches it, enjoy it.
Yeah, definitely. Because it's definitely worth watching. It's a fun action adventure comedy movie. It's got a little bit of everything. It's got a little bit of everything.
And, it's got it's a little bit of that sub genre of horror comedy.
Yeah.
Right. It's the slasher type villain taking people down one by one. And he's gonna die. They open the chest, they're gonna die.
Mm-hmm.
Once he wants to die, he's gonna die.
Yep.
1999's The Mummy.
That's The Mummy. So if you enjoy this podcast and you want to reach out to us on social media, we are on Facebook and Instagram at Rob and Tony's Cinematic Adventure. The and is spelled out in those places, unlike the name of the podcast where it's an ampersand. but it's spelled out Rob and Tony's Cinematic Adventure on Facebook and Instagram and Threads. And then we are on X/Twitter. We are R&T Cinematic.
Yes.
And then we are also on Letterboxd. That is Cine Adventure or Cine Adventure, however you want to pronounce it, CINE Adventure. So if you have a Letterboxd account and you want to see what we like on there, see our reviews and stuff, and it's mostly Tony's reviews on there because he runs the Letterboxd stuff more.
I need to get back into it, but yes.
But yeah, so reach out to us in those places. If you enjoy the podcast, then please on your whatever app you listen to us on, go ahead and subscribe, like it, comment, give us a good review. That's all ways that helps us move up in the rankings and the search and all that. So to help more people know about us. But yeah, so anyway, also if you want to send us an email, it's robandtonycinematicadventure@gmail.com. And again, the and is spelled out, A-N-D. But yeah, so
we're open to suggestions.
Let us know what you think of the show. Let us know, what movies you think we should do. If you have suggestions, what's your favorite movie? What's your least favorite movie? What are your movie
favorite
tastes?
Genre? Favorite actor?
Yeah.
Like, if there's like an actor director you want us to feature a little bit of, tell us. We'll try to figure out ways to work them in.
We'll try to work it in.
But I'm excited about what we're doing next.
Yes, me too. Because the sequel is coming out soon. We're going to be doing Twister.
Yes. I can't wait. I really can't wait.
Yeah. So next up is going to be Twister, the Bill Paxton, Helen Hunt, Carrie Elwes, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Jan de Bont directed movie about tornadoes. Or twisters.
And cows.
Getting sucked up in those tornadoes. And
oh, this I can't wait.
It's going to be a good one. So, yeah, join us next time for Twister. We will see you then.